Good evening. So it is 7:15. We want to welcome you to the York School District 1 Virtual Academy presentation. We want to thank you for signing up for the presentation this evening. My name is Tim Cooper. I'm Public Information Officer for York School District 1 and also coordinate instructional technology for the school district. And so really happy to have you all here. Thank you very much for registering and for taking time out of your evening to learn more about our virtual academy. This is a program that we're really excited to be able to make available to the students and families in our school district as we continue to make our way through everything around coronavirus. A couple of logistics as we begin to get started. In a Zoom webinar, if you haven't used Zoom before, which many people by this point in time have, in the webinar format, we have both the ability for questions and answers, as well as a chat box that is available. We're able to see both of those on our side as we work through our presentation, and we'll make sure that we do our best to reply to the questions as a part of the presentation. We'll have a more formal sort of question and answer period where we'll work to address questions at the end of the session as well. And so if it's content that we haven't covered as a part of our presentation, but we still need to address, we'll do our best to answer those wherever possible. We're also continuing to build out our question and answer section on our Virtual Academy website. So if we're not able to answer your question tonight, we'll be working to add answers to those questions on that site as well. And then following the webinar this evening, you'll receive an email from me thanking you for your time and your attendance and give you some information as well. And you'll also have my contact information that you can email if you have some questions. This is a webinar format, so we won't be able to receive audio from you as a participant. But again, the question and answer box as well as the chat boxes are ways to be able to get in touch with us. We have a couple of other folks here that will be serving as presenters for today. And so I want to take a minute to introduce them. Again, my photo is there in the middle. Miss Alyssa Cox, she is our Director of Secondary Education, and she'll be one of our presenters this evening. And then also Dr. Tori Barber is going to be serving as principal of the York School District 1 Virtual Academy. And he'll be there. He is here with us and will be doing some of the presentation along the way. I want to take just a minute to talk about our reopening plan that we made public today. Last night in our school board meeting, our board approved our reopening plan, and that plan calls for two different options to meet the needs of our students. One option involves a face-to-face setting for instruction. That is determined by the level of the virus here within our school community, within the zip codes in the county that we serve. And based on the level of spread from a recent time period, will determine what form of face-to-face instruction we're able to deliver. In a low spread scenario, we would be able to deliver 5-day face-to-face instruction with the safety protocols in place of extended cleaning and other safety protocols. In a high spread scenario, we would be in a remote learning format where our students would stay at home during that remote learning period. Content might be delivered via digital means if students have access to that. Content would also be delivered in a paper format if students don't have access to the internet. In a medium spread format, we would be following a hybrid learning model. That hybrid learning model would involve students being in a face-to-face environment in our school buildings for 2 days of the week, and for 3 days, the students would be at home. That Wednesday of that week, we're calling a C day. It's an acronym, SEE, which quite honestly right now I cannot remember what it is, but the C days would serve as opportunities for us to work with students in small groups, bring them in for extended learning, some smaller face-to-face groups as needed along the way. And so that model would be based on medium spread within the virus in the county. The webinar tonight is going to discuss our virtual academy scenarios, our option. The virtual academy option for you is an all-year program. It's extended regardless of what the spread happens to be in our community. It's an opportunity to know the same model of instruction would be delivered to your student all year long, regardless of what spread happens to be. And as you know, many of you participated in our parent surveys that we provided a couple of times throughout the summer. And there was a very clear demonstrated need and request for a fully virtual opportunity for students and for you at home. And so we're really excited to be able to make that available to you as a part of that. You may also know that Governor McMaster made some announcements today that may impact our reopening plan. And so we will be looking at what our plan, how our plan is to be submitted, and make any changes or corrections to that plan as we need to as a result of that. But as of right now, the plan that is on our website and the plan that you will see on our social media and should have received via email or text, depending on what contact information we have, that would have been sent to you. Today, our first speaker is Miss Alyssa Cox. Ms. Cox is, again, our Director of Secondary Ed, and she's going to address with us the goal and the focus. And then also, just to be clear, as far as the webinar this evening, we're not using video of ourselves this evening, just simply doing a full screen share. So if you're viewing this on a mobile, on a full screen device on a computer, you can adjust the Zoom screen to sort of get rid of the video of the presenters and just focus on the screen share that we're working through. So at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Cox to go over a little bit of what our goal and focus is for the program.
Good evening, and I am so grateful to be joining the York School District 1 team, and I'm thankful that you all are joining us today, particularly for your interest in our virtual academy option. The focus of York School District 1 is directed toward protecting the health, safety, and wellness of students and staff while giving students the best possible learning experience that is as close to normal as health and safety allows. This has been Ms. Cox's, our superintendent's, focus throughout this time since March, and it continues to be our focus. We are committed to it, and therefore we have created the two options for our families and students that Mr. Cooper has addressed. That first option being the ability to return to school in a face-to-face model setting as determined by the district and dependent upon the virus spread. The second is to enroll in our newly created virtual academy. But please keep in mind that this is the one option for our students and families that will be the focus of our information session today. The operations and faculty of our virtual academy will be housed at our current York 1 Academy, and Dr. Tori Barber will serve as the administrator there. And he has a team of individuals, and we will be selecting our faculty and staff to join him. And at this time, I'm going to introduce Dr. Tori Barber and let him speak to you a little bit about his administrative staff.
Thank you, Ms. Cox, and good evening to everyone. I'm excited to serve as the administrator and coordinator of the York School District 1 Virtual Academy. I have served our district for the past 3 years as the principal of York 1 Academy, and I have several years of experience with monitoring and working with teachers and students and families from a virtual learning perspective. Ms. Lindsay Lawson will serve as the assistant principal, and Ms. Lawson has 10 years of experience working in York School District 1. The Virtual Academy faculty will consist of current York School District 1 teachers that have been selected to teach in the Virtual Academy. All faculty are South Carolina certified. Grade levels and content areas will be staffed based upon the enrollment for the Virtual Academy.
Thank you, Dr. Barber. We're going to kind of tag team this information this evening. And so based upon the survey that you all completed this summer, we're very thankful that you took the time to do that. Many of you indicated that you may wish to enroll your child in a completely virtual option. Therefore, we will be offering the new Virtual Academy for the 2020-2021 school year in an effort to accommodate families and our students that would prefer to have a full-time virtual option. The virtual program will serve students in grades kindergarten through 12th grade who believe online learning to be a good fit, and we'll talk about that a little later. It is expected that families provide reliable internet service and a device. We certainly understand that this may be difficult for many. However, the results of the district survey indicated that there were a significant number of you, a significant number of our families that would be able to commit and were interested and able to support a virtual option for their student, including the reliable internet. So this option is intended to serve and the information to serve and support those families and students at this time.
So the learning is different from a brick and mortar, but the teachers will provide face-to-face instruction and flexible support via live streaming and digital coursework through a computer-based platform. Unlike remote learning environment used during the emergency closure from last spring, students will follow a schedule just as they would be in a brick and mortar building. It would just be from a virtual perspective. Students will have the opportunity to receive standard-based content, ask questions, participate in classroom discussions and independent work, submit assignments, and the students will be able to demonstrate a level of mastery from the safety and the comfort of their homes from a virtual perspective.
We have some key features of our virtual academy. One, again, it will allow students in grades K through 12 to be taught by a district certified teacher from their own community. Now, it may not necessarily be from the student's home school, but it will be a teacher within our district and certainly a certified one. The virtual model will facilitate a smooth transition back to traditional schooling once the pandemic subsides, and it will allow graduates to still earn a diploma from our York Comprehensive High School. The student instruction and assessment of learning will be directed and supported by these York School District 1 teachers who are focused on 100% virtual instruction throughout the day. Your student will become a full-time online learner in this program, and they'll have the opportunity to engage in learning opportunities that are quality and aligned with our South Carolina College and Career Ready standards. Again, it's not only expected that the family provide reliable internet access and a device, but also a supportive environment for virtual online setting. Students will follow a schedule and have daily interaction with teachers, and students enrolled in the academy will be allowed to participate in extracurricular activities at their home school. We have some guiding parameters for our academy. Again, students in grades K through 12 will be served. The student's school assignment will remain the same assigned school for the 2020-2021 school year. So that means your student will remain connected to their home school. Students must be registered in York School District 1 schools to attend. So we encourage you, if you have not already, be sure that you've completed the registration process through Gateway. This is our yearly annual process that we do every year. Students may participate in athletics and extracurricular activities in their home school. The class sizes may be larger than the traditional class. We are asking elementary and middle school students to commit to the virtual academy for the entire year. High school students will commit for the entire semester. This is due to the need to be able to staff the virtual academy accordingly with teachers, but also staff our traditional building and settings with appropriate number of teachers for those students as well.
Talking about the learning platform, the courses that your students will be taking will be designed by an accredited online platform based on South Carolina curriculum standards. Currently, the curriculum platform Edmentum will be used for kindergarten through 6th grade. Edgenuity will be used for 7th graders through 12th graders. Courses will be supported with teacher design lessons, direct instruction, relevant activities, meaningful assignments, interventions, and assessments. Our learning management system, Canvas, will be used to provide additional support, communication among students, teachers, and monitoring of student progress, along with a parent portal too. The Virtual Academy will offer K through 8 content area courses in English, language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. Special and exploratory courses such as PE, health, world language, technology, and arts may also be included in the curriculum. A full array of 9th through 12th academic courses will be offered. High school courses are NCAA approved for student athletes. Various electives, including fine arts and career and technology courses, may be included also and may also be provided. Individual specialized courses may be offered as needed through the South Carolina Virtual School. Here you will see a screenshot of the Edgenuity platform. Here you can see examples of the types of guided instruction and additional support that will be available to students through the online learning platform. One of the examples is an algebra example that includes a teacher providing direct instruction. The second example is of an English warm-up.
Attendance will be taken for each class. South Carolina regulations regarding mandatory attendance will still be followed. All grading guidelines of the school district will be followed, including our uniform grading policy. Our state assessments will be conducted per the South Carolina regulations and timeframes provided to us as a district from our State Department. The Virtual Academy will primarily utilize what we're calling a synchronous class model. Courses will be offered as full virtual courses with opportunities for online face-to-face instruction, tutoring, independent learning, and small group instruction. Students will have the opportunity for additional instructional supports and interventions with their teachers.
The students will follow a schedule of virtual class sessions and have opportunity to schedule additional time for independent assistance and small group instruction. The York School District 1 school calendar start and end dates, including all grading periods, dates will apply to the virtual academy. There will be flexibility for the actual start date of the virtual academy to allow for onboarding for students and parents that decide to pick the virtual setting.
What you see here are just some sample drafts of schedules for students that would be enrolled in our virtual academy. And again, I stress that these are samples. We know that many of you have questions of what the day may look like. We also understand that onboarding our students is going to require some structure for the first portion of the year. We are going to need to get to know our students and what their needs are, what time of day may work better for them, what other home situations they may have or responsibilities. And so if you will just entertain us, as we want to be able to provide structure, not only for our students, but also for our teachers. So there will be an onboarding process, but this gives you a little visual of what those days may look like. Our elementary students in the program, the structure of the day would be set up much like a regular school day with that schedule, with a designated start and end class time. Students will have the opportunity to engage in those quality learning experiences aligned with our standards in language arts, math, science, and social studies using the online learning platform and support of their teachers. They will have time to work independently on assignments, participate in related arts, and other breaks scheduled throughout the day. Some of those small group instructional blocks that you see here would be used by teachers and assigned to specific students. So your child may not necessarily participate in those unless the teacher deems it necessary.
So you will see a sample for the middle school and high school students that will participate in the virtual program. The structure of the day will be set up much like a regular school day with a daily schedule, a designated start and end class times. Students will have the opportunity to engage in quality learning opportunities aligned with SC college and career standards in language arts, math, science, and social studies using the online learning platform and the support of teachers. Students will have independent time to work on assignments, participate in related arts, and other breaks scheduled throughout the day. Middle school students who are taking high school credit-bearing courses like English 1 or Algebra 1 will be able to take those courses in the virtual program. High school students will have the opportunity to complete high school courses for credit leading to the high school diploma, the South Carolina diploma. Diploma requirements remain the same whether the student is face-to-face or virtual. All courses a student may have registered for in the spring of 2020 may not be available online. Guidance counselors will work with the virtual academy students to select alternate courses as needed. We understand that some students may need to attend Career and Technology Center for specialized CATE courses or continued coursework. We will work with these students on a case-by-case basis to ensure the opportunity for these students to complete their CATE coursework and their career pathways. The student-centered version, the virtual academy teachers and administration will develop and maintain meaningful relationships with students and families. Various activities and interests or progress surveys will be administered to determine learning styles, strengths, and mastery of learning targets to assist teachers with assessing and meeting all of the students' needs. Activities will be conducted throughout the delivery of the course to build a sense of community and relationships with the students, the teachers, and the class. The virtual academy will provide each student and family with engagement opportunities on its campus throughout the school year. As for the extracurricular activities, students will be able to participate in extracurricular activities, including sports and fine art programs at their home school while enrolled in the virtual academy. Students must meet all eligibility requirements to participate in any sport or activity. These activities typically are offered at the home school before or after the school day. Students will need to provide their own transportation if participating in any extracurricular activity at their home school. Transportation will not be provided. From student expectations, from my eyes, students are expected to attend online class sessions. They are expected to complete class activities, submit class assignments, take all assessments, and remain on the defined schedule directed by the teacher. Now, there is some flexibility that's built into that. Participating in online small group instruction or individual sessions may be optional unless otherwise assigned by the teacher. Teachers will post a syllabus for each course. A schedule detailing expectations, class schedules, and due dates will be posted each week. Canvas and the online learning platform will provide instant course participation data, such as time on task, assignment completion progress, assessment scores, and overall course average.
So with regards to attendance, state law will continue to require attendance to be recorded in virtual programs. So virtual attendance is determined by whether or not a student submits work or participates in the assigned activities. Students who submit the assignments and participate in the assigned learning experiences by the deadlines established by the teacher would be considered to be present. Those students who fail to submit assignments or participate in assigned learning experiences by the deadline would be considered absent. Many of you will have questions about our exceptional student education services. Students with disabilities have that opportunity to also enroll in the virtual academy. Students who qualify for special ed services would receive those accommodations and modifications as outlined in their IEP. We would provide those for those students. Any required face-to-face accommodations will be provided accordingly and in a means that would ensure the safety and health of not only the student, but also the teacher. The student is, of course, assigned a case manager, and that case manager will continue to provide progress reports and facilitate those IEP meetings. And the homeschool may still provide additional supports as needed that might be specialized, such as speech. With technology, it is the expectation that students have a strong, reliable internet access and a personal device. Students are going to use the technology for virtual instruction, to access the learning platform, and also access digital resources. Teachers will provide that ongoing support throughout the year with how to navigate those learning platforms, Canvas, and all the other digital resources. In summary, the Virtual Academy will provide a virtual program of courses with access to certified teachers from our district that will be able to provide online additional support in either a whole group, individual, small group setting. Edmentum and Edgenuity will be used as our primary learning platforms for curriculum design. Students enrolled in the Academy will remain connected to their home school, because we know that's a concern for many, and they will therefore have that opportunity to participate in various CAPE courses as needed, extracurriculars, and athletics offered at their home school. Again, parents would have to provide that transportation to and from the home school for those club meetings and practices.
So following Mrs. Cox's summary, the students will be provided with a virtual class schedule that includes routine class time with their class and teachers. Students will be expected to participate in the scheduled class session, hold class activity, small group instruction, and individual meeting opportunities. In addition, teacher lessons may be recorded and available for students to access at their convenience or as needed. Students will have 24/7 access to course content and teacher lessons. Students may complete assignments independently. However, students must maintain appropriate pacing, progress, and achievement. Students will need to adhere to completion and submission deadlines of assignments, projects, and activities for attendance and progress monitoring. Teachers will be available via email and for routine office hours. Students will have access to a school counselor and other members of the school community staff for further services as needed.
So here's where discussion with your student and of course among your family is going to be important to determine if your child or if the virtual academy is a good fit for your child. And although efforts will be made to maintain appropriate and relevant course requirements and assignments, the virtual learning environment really requires students to be self-paced, self-directed, ability to complete independent work, and also truly advocate for additional teacher support as needed. Students are advised to create daily disciplined schedules to ensure completion of online tasks and activities. So please take time to really read these questions and think about those things that are presented here. Is your child comfortable asking questions or seeking help? Are they comfortable with the limited, that physical face-to-face interaction with his or her teacher? Are they organized? And if you have a young child, will you have the time and opportunity to help them learn organization with school work? Are they able to manage those due dates on their own and kind of multitask deadlines and manage materials? So I encourage you to have those conversations with your child and truly try to evaluate and assess your child as a learner. How do you enroll your student in our academy? First, please make sure, and this is something that all of our families should be doing across our district, regardless of if you are returning to face-to-face or virtual. Each year, you're asked to complete that annual primary registration process in Gateway, and we still have many of our families out there that have not yet completed that. So we're really asking that you take time to do that process, as it is our normal registration process. Once you have completed that, we're asking all of our families and students to complete one more additional form for us that we are calling a declaration of intent. And this form will require you to select from the two options that Mr. Cooper spoke to at the beginning of our session. Option one, a face-to-face model that could be a traditional model at the home school or any hybrid of some sort. Or option two, the one highlighted here, in a virtual academy, which is what we've spoken to today. So if you wish your child to be enrolled in the virtual academy, please select option two on the form. That will indicate your request for enrollment, and it will also confirm your commitment and ability to provide that reliable internet access and a device. Please be reminded that commitment to the virtual academy will be a year-long commitment for our students K through 8 and a semester commitment for our students 9 through 12. Courses are typically completed on a semester schedule for high school. We also know that there may be extenuating circumstances to consider, so students may have that opportunity to opt out of the virtual academy if there are extenuating circumstances. So we will have a process for that. So please complete that declaration of intent form, and we're going to put a deadline up in just a minute that might be a little fluid. I do also want to comment, as I know that there may already be some questions about switching from one program to the other. That is very difficult to do due to staffing and space oftentimes. So again, there will be an opt-out portion for your virtual academy that we will consider extenuating circumstances. If you choose option one for a face-to-face model, and these are some questions that you've had, and we have a school closure again, those students will be going to a remote learning environment. So it's difficult for them to now push into a virtual world because those classes are already enrolled. They're also already in motion with a seat because they're using an online learning platform. However, I do assure you that the remote learning will look much different this year, as we will have an opportunity to provide some professional development for our teachers so that it will not necessarily be just paper packets, particularly for our students 7 through 12. We also know that some of our students that may be in a face-to-face model may have some extenuating circumstances health-wise or something that may occur, and again, we'll take those as a case-by-case basis. So again, our declaration of intent, complete the registration process through Gateway. That should be everyone doing that just normally. And then you'll complete the declaration of intent form that Mr. Cooper is going to explain a little about how you'll find access to that. And we just reiterate again that there will be a process in place for those extenuating circumstances. Our original window was July 15th through July 22nd to complete that declaration of intent. However, with some of the things that you've learned today from our governor and some of the changes that may take place or things that are kind of still being considered, that window will obviously become a little more fluid as you are able to gather more information to make some more informed choices for your child.
So I did want to take a minute to address, the declaration of intent and also go ahead and give you an opportunity to put some additional questions in the chat box. Got sort of a final overview of some things on the screen, recapping some of the questions and items that we've mentioned here. So if you'll take a minute, and if you have some questions that we haven't yet answered, go ahead and put those into the chat. And while you're doing that, we'll go ahead and begin trying to answer some of the questions so that we can make sure that we get some information for you along the way. So as you may know, and I mentioned towards the beginning of this as well, I believe that the Governor McMaster made some statements earlier today around expectations for the start of school and how schools should look. Our virtual academy will occur as we're describing tonight. This meets his expectations for that. It meets the expectations and the needs of our students and our families in our school district. And this will be offered this fall. This is, again, a full online environment, a full online opportunity for your children, for the students in our school district. And we will be offering it for the next school year. So we want to make sure that it's clear that despite any particular recent news, that those will be going on. We used the term onboarding earlier, and I want to kind of clarify that term. For us, we use that term when we're referring to presenting or bringing some new people into a group. When it refers to virtual academy, the onboarding will involve making your children, our students, as well as you as parents, familiar with how the virtual academy will work, with the online platform, with logins, with submitting assignments, completing work, getting assistance and help, logging into the various services. And so that onboarding, we envision, will take the first couple of weeks of the school year, just so that the flow of getting everything working for everyone works the way that we expect it to.
Some of you have asked about our CATE courses, our career and technology courses. Some of those will be able to be offered online, things such as our business courses, engineering, but others of those that are hands-on, such as cosmetology or automotive, or our lineman program and our firefighters program. Some of those we realize are going to have to return perhaps to the technology center, meeting safety and health guidelines for them to be able to social distance. And they know that, and they are willing to work with us to ensure that those students still have that experience and are able to complete that coursework. So we may have some of our upper level high school students, upper level meaning 11th and 12th grade, that are deep in that program, become almost kind of like hybrid virtual students, where they're going to have to attend the tech center for a cosmetology class. Those things we will work out. A couple of you have asked about, you've already scheduled classes for your high school student, and how will I know that those are offered? Most all of our classes can be served through Edgenuity for high school, or 7 through 12 for secondary, or the South Carolina Virtual School. So once you enroll, we'll work with the counselor if there's a course per se that's not available, to either choose an alternate, or we'll check out South Carolina Virtual School to see if that's an option of where it is. But it's difficult to kind of answer till we really know what those specific classes are. I will say that we will have a course catalog from Edgenuity posted once we get that approved, for you all to see, so you can kind of take a look at what's already there. But us having reviewed it, it's very comparable, and that's one reason why we selected that platform, is because it has some comparable courses, or the courses that we need to offer to our students.
We had a couple of questions around internet connectivity. Really good question of how can I test my internet to know if I have sufficient internet in my home. I'm going to jump back on the slide and go back to the slide that we showed earlier. It gives an idea in the Edgenuity system, which is what we'll be using for 7th through 12th grade, what the student screen would look like. And you'll notice the image of a person as a part of that particular screen. In Edgenuity's platform, this particular lesson makes use of pre-recorded videos. Edgenuity, as well as Edmentum, which we're using at the lower grade levels, is well aware of bandwidth constraints. You can imagine, even in our school district, as we start to put in thousands of students connecting to our internet, we run into bandwidth constraints issues as well. And so they optimize those videos to use a really small amount of internet bandwidth, as low as possible, to still ensure that the quality is okay, but also make sure that your connectivity is okay. By and large, if you can stream a YouTube video without a significant buffering, or if you can watch Netflix at home or some other form of streaming video, your students should be just fine to connect in an online environment. Most of the things that they'll be doing are not bandwidth constrained. The virtual academy is not a full day Zoom session. And so the amount of bandwidth that would be needed is not what we would typically expect in converting from a traditional school environment to a digital environment. We had a question around what small group instruction looks like, both in our elementary as well as in our secondary schedules. And those are just simply an opportunity. The digital environment allows us to continue to do what we do in our traditional brick and mortar classrooms of delivering instruction to students in small sessions. Pull 5 students aside that need a particular reteaching on algebraic functions or something along those lines. And that we would continue to do that in the digital environment as well.
Some of you have questions about our dual credit classes that we offer through York Tech. We will have the option to serve students online with those courses as well. So if we have students that want to enroll in the Virtual Academy and need those courses, we will be able to make that happen from our partnership with York Technical College.
Had a question about Edmentum as well as Edgenuity, and we'll be adding some content on our Virtual Academy website tomorrow, which will give you some links to both of those companies so that you can get an idea of what their services look like, so that you can make some ideas and make some thoughts around that. We'll also be making providing some links to what those services recommend as far as devices to connect and make use of the service. Typically, we're recommending that students have access to a device that has a keyboard. The digital environment is going to call for students to create content, typing Word documents and submitting assignments and that make use of a keyboard. And we often find, even in our traditional brick and mortar classrooms, that students struggle with an on-screen keyboard of a tablet device that takes up 1/3 to 1/2 of the screen while they're trying to type. They find that frustrating. They don't find that very productive. And so we typically recommend that students have access to a device that has a keyboard. A Bluetooth keyboard connected to an iPad, for example, could be totally sufficient for something like that.
With regard with resources and textbooks, those items, in the Virtual Academy, things that you'll need to access will be digital resources. And of course, that online curriculum. However, we do understand that we may have students with individualized educational plans, IEPs, that may require textbook as supplemental support. We also want our teachers to be able to serve our students in the same way they would in a traditional building. Whereas if a child is struggling or may need further examples or further supports, we would be able to provide them access with that. But they'll not be issued as you would in a brick and mortar building, but they will be available for those that we've identified may need that additional support.
Internet connectivity question again, if internet goes down, if we have power issues, those sorts of things, we would certainly understand those. We're not obviously going to be in a situation where we're going to be able to say you weren't logged in at 9 a.m. and thus you're late or absent from a program. We're not going to be strictly internet reliant as well. We expect that our teachers are going to be able to have telephone contact with your students as well. Sometimes that's just easier to pick up the telephone and talk via voice. We make use of Remind as a text messaging service inside the district. And so the ability for a student to message a teacher via that platform may not rely on the internet connection as there happens to be some particular issues along the way. We also had a question around some of the various programs that your students are enrolled in, whether it's for special services, services such as Merit, our Gifted and Talented program. Those services would continue to be provided as a part of the Virtual Academy. There's not a slot that would be lost by being in the Virtual Academy if you're a Merit student, for example. Those are Gifted and Talented services that we would be continuing to provide in the Virtual Academy. And should you choose to return to the traditional brick and mortar environment later on next year or beyond, your student would continue to receive those services. We had questions about flexibility around scheduling and how scheduling works. And we provided the sample schedule at the beginning because it's important to note that that the virtual academy will be rigorous. It will be just as rigorous as a traditional face-to-face environment. And our students actually thrive on schedules. When I taught in the classroom, my students knew full well what they needed to be doing at different points in time throughout the day. And when our schedule was off due to pep rallies, they were very confused. It was a struggle at times. And so they need that schedule, but there will also be, as time goes on as a part of the academy, much more flexibility involved in that scheduling. And so we'll be working with that as time goes on throughout the program. We'll continue, mention again, we'll continue to receive special services for students. So things like speech therapy will be available, other sorts of special education resources. We will, the accommodations team will be working with you and your student to make sure that those sorts of things, are done. We're scrolling through some other questions, try to make sure that we're hitting everything for you. Had a question around the declaration of intent as well as registration. So those are two separate pieces. Our school registration program, that our piece, that is the piece where you log into Registration Gateway and you provide your student's username and password, and you're confirming with us your home address and your contact information and that information. That needs to be completed. We opened that up in late April, and you may well have completed that. If you're not sure, call your school and they can let you know if you completed that registration process. The declaration of intent is new. It is new this year. It is new today because we need to have, after our surveys, we need to now really begin to quantify who will be enrolling in our virtual academy versus our face-to-face option based off of what the community spread for the virus happens to be.
Again, we are just kind of scrolling.
Had a question around acceptance into the online school. That's going to be tied to that declaration of intent. If you submit that information and you want to enroll your child in that virtual academy, we expect that we'll be enrolling your child in the virtual academy. Still scrolling through, so give us just a minute. We want to make sure we're hitting everything. A lot of duplicate questions, so we're trying to make sure that we hit some things. Again, this presentation, we do plan to take one of the recordings from today and put it on our website. For those of you who were unable to join us right on time, we will have a copy of it available back on the Virtual Academy webpage. I would expect that that should be posted by midday tomorrow if you want to begin looking for that. I don't know if we mentioned classroom supplies and other sort of supplies, instructional materials and such. We would expect that school supplies to be purchased would be similar to what you would purchase for a face-to-face environment. Many of the resources that the teachers will provide will be digital, but they also will, teachers will be making use of more traditional materials as well. So if there's particular textbooks we need to make available to students, we will. If there's particular literature books that we need to do, we'll be doing that. We mentioned at the beginning, but the teachers for the virtual academy will be based out of York One Academy, located near downtown. And so they will, those teachers will be physically present there throughout the instructional process. And that will give us the opportunity to provide, as we need to, some small group instruction that happens to be face-to-face, or some conferencing with a parent and teacher, you know, as we need to as well. Many of the sessions that are delivered as a part of the instruction are recorded, whether they're recorded as a part of the platform or if it's a instruction the teacher may be delivering via video to the students. And so those would be available for replay later on. One thing that many students who participate in a virtual program similar to ours find valuable is the ability at 7:30 at night. I don't quite remember what my teacher said yesterday. Let me go back and pull that up, and they can go back and refresh their memory on what happened to be said at that particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point in time, as we're looking through, it looks like we've been able to answer most everything. If we haven't been able to answer your question, I want to give you an opportunity to email me. Again, I'm Tim Cooper. I'm Public Information Officer with the school district. And so at the conclusion of today's webinar, I'll be sending you an email that has a link back to our Virtual Academy page. It has a link to the Declaration of Intent that we'll be asking every student to complete, regardless of whether you choose to do face-to-face or Virtual Academy. And also at the end of the webinar, when you close out of the webinar, it should automatically pop up a tab in your web browser, which will take you to that Declaration of Intent. We're not asking you to sign that tonight. We know that your family has a lot to consider. You want to discuss it with your children. You possibly want to ask some more questions. But we had the opportunity to be able to make that Declaration of Intent page pop up on your screen, potentially, depending on how the webinar is closed out. And so we've done that there.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Again, if you have other questions, please make sure you email us. We know you need all the information available that we can possibly give you. Still lots of questions surrounding what the face-to-face, because I know you're trying to compare. Just be patient with us as we continue to gather information from the state to be able to inform you a little better of start dates with our calendar and a face-to-face model.
So we thank you very much for your time. We'll go ahead and close this out, and you'll watch for an email from me later on this evening. Again, thank you very much.